Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a special guest here today. We have John Ostenson. He's a leading franchise expert and consultant with access to hundreds of brands and helping individuals step into business ownership without starting from scratch. After years of consulting and building on both the franchisor and franchisee side, including scaling a business recognized in the Inc. 5000, he saw that many high performers weren't lacking ambition, just the right vehicle. So today, he helps professionals break out of the golden handcuffs, as we say, by building scalable, often semi passive income streams through strategic franchising. So, John, welcome to hashtag Clocked In. And before we get started, I want to ask you a quick question. Why are so many high performing professionals, people that are already making good money, quietly moving into franchising right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's not even quiet, right? It's. I think it's getting noisier out there, but no, excited to be with you, Jordan. And you're exactly right. I mean, we see more and more individuals for a variety of reasons jumping into business ownership via franchising. It's franchising is not right for everyone, but for many, it's the better path to business ownership, at least for that next season of life. And what I love is, it's entirely free to work with us. I'll just mention that, get it out of the way. And what we do is we help our clients all across the country identify the top 10 or 12 opportunities in their market that are looking to expand there. We hold their hand as they go through the discovery process, identifying the right opportunity for them. But no, I think for a variety of reasons, people are jumping in, whether it be, every day there's an article in the Wall Street Journal about another company, talking about AI and how it's going to impact job losses in the future. And we see clients reaching out as a result of that, or maybe they've been in consulting or in sales and they're tired of being on the road. They're tired of hitting quotas, tired of living life on someone else's term, helping another company build their empire. They want to build their own and be able to control their destiny. So I'd say a lot of people have been thinking about business ownership, talking about it, dreaming about it for years. But at a very fast pace, we're seeing people start to really ramp up the efforts of getting in the game now.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I'm excited to have John on, because there's a few variables that are really happening here that make him really interesting. Is one, a lot of people are starting to move away from these one income streams. So they're looking at different ways of making money. And then later in the podcast, we're actually going to talk about some opportunities where you only need one employee. So, because most of us think, oh, I got a franchise, I got a new job. And is that the case? Or is it a little bit different than that?
Hey, franchising is spoken about in general terms, but at the end of the day, it's several thousand different types of companies and models out there. So, end of the day, and not every franchise is created equal. You've got great ones that provide great support. You've got others that don't. But no, a lot of them do provide that opportunity for what they call an executive model, or semi-passive, semi-absentee is another term you'll use. I like the term semi-involved, but the idea is there you put an operator in place, and then that franchisor provides a lot of support to the operator, so it takes some of that burden off of you, so you can keep your day job, or you can keep your current business focus. Now, I never want to sugarcoat it. It still takes work. If you don't have the right operator, you're going to find yourself leaning in. But if you do have the right operator, like I do on several of my businesses, it can be pretty hands off. I mean, because that franchisor carries a lot of the daily support water for you, but it just involves having the right person in that seat.
So, what, in your opinion and kind of perspective, what makes a good franchisor? Because I know there's so many different franchises. It's kind of becoming a buzzword. Like, a lot of people are talking about it, especially with what ended up happening on social media, where people are like, just buy a business, replace your income. And it's like, how does one even do that?
Yeah. What makes a good franchisor? It's one that sets the right expectations up front and then follows through on them. And it's, they're providing the basics. They've got optimized marketing for you to step into day one. They've got a technology stack so you don't have to recreate the wheel. They've got a good training system and program for you. They're bringing together franchisees into different, forums to, exchange best practices and learn from each other. It's like a built-in mastermind. And then they're providing ongoing coaching from the sideline and innovation, to your business. But the great thing about franchising is, there's product market fit. You're stepping into a model that's been proven out in similar markets before. So then it just comes down to executing. You mentioned the idea of buying an existing business. A lot of people reach out to us and say, hey, we'd love to buy an existing franchise. And I say, well, like I just did a pool cleaning franchise in Denver a couple of weeks ago, but every now and then we'll do one. But for the most part, the good opportunities on the resale side get bought by other franchisees in the system before they hit the open market. So it does give you the potential, once you get into a franchise system, you get first line of sight into anyone that could be selling. So that's another way to kind of scale your business over time. But no, a lot of people are out there, they call themselves ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisition, or searchers. I have these conversations every day, and buying an existing business can be a good proposition, but for many of them, they've been looking for years for the business, for the right business, and they've been under LOI, due diligence didn't shake out, like for a variety of reasons, and it's just a lot of time that they could have spent building a business. That's why I love franchising. It lets you get in the game and start building, and you can still acquire a business down the road.
Well, it's quite interesting because it's not so much the same, right? Like, so if you have an employee, most of us have this employee mindset of like, we need to do the work, we're going to get the work done, and that's going to be the result. And especially a lot of the people, as they get higher and higher, they manage bigger and bigger teams. So that's why a franchising is kind of a seamless transition because you're just managing a different team, right? When a lot of us think about we think about it so much as, hey, did I flex my muscle? And we do the things that we're good at. And like, so when we get really good at that, that's why I'm not surprised that you're like, yeah, people will look to buy businesses for years and not do anything. That's not because they don't want to, it's because there's a fear. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. Like,
Yeah, and they're typically paying a premium for that business. And there's risk to buying a business because you may lose key employees when you have a change in ownership. You may lose key customers. And that's why, again, I'm biased towards the franchise model because you can take an existing system, put your thumbprint on it with your people, your culture. And again, you're not in business all by yourself. You've got a franchise or you've got a team supporting you on the sideline and a mastermind of other franchisees that you can learn from. So it's cliche, but you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, John, how did you get involved in this? How did you start to open up to franchising? How did you get involved? Like, yeah.
I stumbled into it. It was not on my radar. I spent many years in the corporate world and had, very thankful for the experiences there, had a good run, but had the opportunity through a series of events to step away and step into the role of president of Shelf Genie franchise system, which is a large franchise system, custom pull-out shelving for your kitchens and pantries is the business. But I had the opportunity to step in and run the home office, supporting all of our franchisees across North America. And for me, that was the experience where I had that light bulb moment. I fell in love with the franchise model. I just saw how all these diverse backgrounds could come together under a shared system of support and become business owners. And so I loved doing that. And since then, the founder and I spun off. We invested in other franchises ourselves. So I've got a handful of franchises that I'm invested in. And I also started my consulting practice 7 years ago. And it's just been amazing, being able to help others identify the top opportunities, help them understand franchising, how it works, and whether it's a good fit for them. So yeah, I've been able to help a couple hundred people step into franchise ownership, and it's incredibly rewarding.
Well, that starts to change the perspective because you go from I'm the franchisor to the franchisee to the consultant. So you just have so many different angles where you can see this. And I had a mentor of mine, and he's still here, but 80 years old, and he always told me, dude, the more perspectives you can get, your whole goal is to get a holistic perspective. So you're definitely someone who's got a holistic perspective on franchising.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I can also see it through my client's eyes, right? Because I have all these case studies.
Absolutely. So for you, when you're building out these businesses and kind of moving on to, hey, I'm looking at this, do you think, hey, I want to hire a bunch of people? Or do you think I want to figure out different ways of working with them?
Yeah, people reach out to us all the time and say, "Hey, I want the highest return on investment with the fewest number of employees." That's definitely, and so I take that as a given out there. We do have people that we work with that love building a large team and the culture and some of those dynamics. For me personally, I've been there, done that. What I love most is being lean and flexible and being able to be strategic and working with face to face with clients. That's how I've set up my consulting businesses, that I'm client facing. I've got a very lean team here, and then we have a lot of strategic partnerships that come together to give our clients that holistic support. But no, for me, what I enjoy doing is being out there on the front lines, working with clients rather than back end supporting a large team.
And how'd you figure that out?
Yeah, you learn by doing. I once had a company where I had 35 employees, and it was not a franchise, but I built it up. We had a good team, had a good thing going, but we weren't highly profitable for the effort that was being put in. And I had to make the tough call to wind the business down. I didn't sell it, but I found homes for our clients, homes for our for our employees. Very proud of how we handled a tough situation. But for me, that gave me all the more appreciation, again, for the franchise model, the fact that it's been proven out. Here I was trying to prove something out on my own, But so I've been there, done that. And again, one more perspective, right, that I'm able to bring to the table. But through that experience, I just remember when I had 35 employees, I was dealing with HR issues and dealing with so-and-so's feelings were hurt and culture meetings. And I'm like, I want to be out there. I want to be front lines talking with clients.
So the reason I asked that is because I want everyone here listening to realize that more isn't always better. Bigger isn't always the best. And the best is whatever you want it to be. So we all got to take a moment and kind of reflect on that, and for us to realize, and that's why I'm grateful John's here, is for us to sit there and go, wait, do I even enjoy what I'm doing? Like, is this where I need to be or want to be?
Yeah.
And that's where, yeah.
Everyone's path is different. I hang out with a lot of business owners. Most of my friends these days are business owners, diverse industries, that they represent. And a lot of them are, reinvesting in their companies. It's all about growing that company towards a future exit. Well, that's what you think of, right? And that can be a great path. For me, my approach is a little bit smaller. I've got a very healthy business. Like you said, we've been on the Inc. 5000 a couple of years in a row. Very thankful. But I'm not looking to grow it incredibly massive. Instead, I take the profits and I reinvest them. And I reinvest in private credit and real estate funds and syndications and public markets and oil and gas and all these different things, including franchising. I think it's an all of the above strategy to have a diverse portfolio, but that's my path. I like cash flowing investments rather than working towards one big exit. So again, it's just a different approach. One size doesn't fit all.
Can you explain? Yeah, can you explain the cash flowing assets? Because I don't know if everyone fully understands versus the one exit, what you mean by that.
Yeah. So, if I have my company does a couple million a year and then, we're cash flowing, a couple 100,000, whatever, to the bottom line. Instead of putting that back into marketing and into trying to grow my business, I'm instead saying, hey, let's put $100,000 in this private credit fund that returns 12% a year. So that's 12,000 here. Another 100,000 in this oil and gas one that returns 15%. That's 15,000 here. You start stacking those up and building that passive income on top of the franchise investments that I have and what those returns are. And so it creates this diverse passive revenue stream that's coming in. Whereas, again, a lot of business owners I know would take every nickel of profit, reinvest it in the company in hiring and marketing, and trying to grow their business so that one day they can sell it. For me, I'm all about the cash flow along the way. And, we're going to have exits on these different things, but instead I'm playing kind of the diversity game. So it's just a contrarian view or approach to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many people that you've also seen go, hey, I went all in for so many years, and now I went bankrupt, and I don't know what to do now, which is a challenging thing.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Like, we're all trying here. We're all trying to make business the best experience for us, but a lot of us don't take the moment to lift our heads up, and that's why I'm a big advocate on coaching, is because to lift your head up and go around and be like, do I even want to do this? Like, do I like where I'm going? Do I like the direction I'm heading?
Yeah, and everyone's not getting younger, right? I mean, it's kind of like I just meet so many folks, Jordan, that have been dreaming about business ownership and thinking about it and talking about it. And maybe they've had a couple conversations along the way, but it's like, get off the sidelines, like get in the game. I mean, for me at least, again, I spent years in corporate America, very thankful for that experience. But my God, now I joke I'm the hardest boss I've ever had, but I am living life on my terms. I coach my kids, sports. I, volunteer at church and other activities here in the community. My family and I've taken multiple international trips already here in the first couple of months of the year. Like, I have designed my business around the life that I want to live, and I pinch myself every day. And is it easy? No, but is it rewarding? Incredibly. And so I can't imagine working for someone else again. And it hurts me sometimes, Jordan. I had a client today, and gosh, he's in MBA school, getting his MBA business school. And there's something deep seated inside of him. He doesn't have the self-confidence to make the jump. He thinks about it. He has the conversations he wants to. He's a smart guy. He could totally do it. But there's some inner belief in him that he doesn't have what it takes. And I can only play psychologist so much, and I'm never going to be salesy. I just support him, wish him well. But man, it just hurts me because I feel like he's selling himself short.
100%. And that mostly happens with a lot of people who end up getting indoctrinated into the system of like, hey, we got to go to school, then we got to do more school, and then we got to do more school. And they're like, I'm going to get an MBA and that's going to help me start a business. And it's like, I've only talked to one guy who was like, dude, I went to MBA at Stanford. Yeah, I mean, I started a business. Like, it helped. Like, I found my co-founders and that was amazing, but that's a different mindset because he's like, my
Sure.
first semester, it was very school oriented. And then I started to realize I was allocating too much time to that and not networking enough. So and business school isn't always great optional, but I mean, he also had this awareness. He's
Yeah.
in his like late 30s, early 40s, and he had this awareness of like, hey, I gotta like capitalize on this. Like, I'm here, I gotta make something of this.
Yeah.
And I
I've,
think,
I've got 5 different clients right now that are Harvard MBAs.
of course,
Yeah, like again, to your point though, like franchising is becoming more mainstream and more people are waking up to, hey, there's so much opportunity outside of food and all these other types of industries.
yeah. And why would people, when most people, I guess when I think of franchising, you think of like Taco Bell, McDonald's, maybe Wendy's, Burger King. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was food the normal thing that everyone was into and then didn't realize?
Food can be a great path. When I say the F word franchise, people think fast food, Taco Bell, Subway, McDonald's. But end of the day, my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money. Now, I've got nothing against the food guys. We need them. But end of the day, if you're going to be a business owner, wouldn't you rather have a business that requires less capital investment, that requires fewer hourly employees, less operating hours?
A restaurant's margin, also not to put you off.
Margins tend to be lower. They're susceptible to consumer whims. I mean, frozen yogurt was big until it wasn't, right? And so for me, I like industries that are not going out of style, things that aren't trendy, things that, home services, property services, things around health and wellness, or categories like seniors, kids, pets, things that people will always spend on regardless of the economy, that AI is not going to replace, but only enhance over time. That's where we see people in the smart money flowing these days.
Yeah. No, I mean, because it's, hey, I don't want to cut my own grass. Like, I don't even want to wash my own car. Like, these are the places to go on a lot of these things because you're absolutely right. Like, most people just don't want to do these things. But then I also sit there and go, I don't really want to have a team of 27 employees that I'm managing. Like you were saying, 35. Are there one employee franchises? Like, are these opportunities even out there?
There's some where you don't even need an employee. And so, some examples of these, would be, you call it a solopreneur type enterprise, right? And so business coaching, cost mitigation, cost reduction consulting for small and medium sized companies. I'm just naming different ones we've had clients get involved in. You know, insurance adjusting, like for property and
Yeah.
casualty adjusters. Uh, there's another one where it's advertising. You're selling like essentially screens in doctors' offices and oil changes, and selling local advertising to companies to be on those screens, in waiting rooms. Another one where you become the subject matter expert on all things senior facility related in your community. And you're able to help families in their time of need when they're trying to figure out, where do we put our aging parent, because we've never been through this process before.
Yeah.
You're able to guide them to the right, fit for them. These are just a few of the examples. I mean, certainly you can get into one like a golf simulator that only requires one employee. There are different types of models out there, but I'd say the vast majority of opportunities, you need 1 or 2 employees. But even one, like we just had a client get into one that provides floor recoating. It's really cool. They've got proprietary products and procedures where you don't have to re-sand the floors, but instead you can provide that same look into the
Oh,
day.
really?
Yeah, it's really cool. No dust, 24-hour turnaround. But anyway, it's a business where, you can run it really with hire some contractors. And a lot of those types of property services businesses, you bring in some contractors, if they do a good job, you keep bringing work to them. It kind of keeps
Yeah.
them honest that way, but you don't have to have them on your W-2 payroll.
Yeah, and that seems to be the big thing here, which is a completely different thought process of I'm trying to keep payments low. I'm trying to keep the team low. And I
Yeah.
think that's also another way to be more resourceful about how we think about our lives. Kind of how you were saying, you're like, it's me and I got a couple employees, but mostly I have a lot of partnerships. And how can someone start to think about that? Because you've obviously went through the corporate route, and then you've gone through the business owner route, and then you've gone through the franchisee, franchisor. You've gone through all these different routes. How does someone change their mindset of I have to do everything to I can get people to help me, but I also don't have to hire everyone I meet?
Yeah. There's so many different levers depending on the type of business. I mean, you can use virtual assistants in the Philippines, right? You can use virtual assistants here in the US. You can use a fractional CMO or CFO, depending on the business. There's a lot of fractional support opportunities, other fractional bookkeepers or CPAs. Certainly AI agents. I mean, gosh, by the time this is published, agents will probably even be even more advanced. I've talked to some friends that are pretty deep into all that, and I'm starting to toy with it myself. But it's fascinating how much can be automated or outsourced, these days. So automated, delegated, I always say, or eliminated. Does it really need to be done? So yeah, it's how do you get the high? I used to have a business coach, Jack Daly, that say, he was always on me about how are you using your time? That's your finite resource, and what's your highest payoff activities, your HPAs, he called them. How can you maximize something that only you can do and unload everything else? And so I've got a friend that runs a virtual assistant program in the Philippines, over 500 VAs supporting people. And he goes through an exercise where it's like list out everything that you do on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis, and pretty much how can all of this be offloaded? What are the things that only you can do, and that's all you should do?
Yeah, and it becomes quite interesting. I created was bored one day and I was sitting there and I was like, what can I do? And I'm like, well, I create content, and I'm like, is content centric only to me? And then I took like Claude 11 Labs, which does your voice, and then because I have a bunch of podcasts, and then I took Hey Jen, which is HEYGEN, and I made a clip of myself and I posted it on Instagram. And I'm like, this is AI, but like it's me talking and no one noticed. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
blown away. In which case, then we don't even have to do these podcasts. Like, the podcasts are learning oriented, but it's very an interesting model where it's how much stuff are we doing that's a complete waste of time? Like, and that's the complete opposite as an employee, because as an employee, it's like, dude, everything's important, because if they don't think I'm working, then they're going to fire me. And it's
Right.
like, it's a complete opposite framework. So it's really challenging for a lot of people to think through that.
Yeah. 100%.
So for you, how did you start thinking about AI, and where are you seeing maybe where you could pull some levers, and maybe in regard to a franchise you have, or maybe in regard to your own consulting business, or how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'd say I'm in the early innings, but I'm starting to surround myself with the people that are more advanced than me, so I'm learning from them. But so I'd say a lot of dabbling. Obviously ChatGPT. I'm in the process of moving everything over to Claude now, which I think is where the world's moving. So I've got a whole laundry list of things that I'm going to be doing with it. But early on, a lot of it's just some content creation. It's kind of your low hanging fruit, and but
That's the biggest challenge, is that half
yeah.
the time you don't even know what it is. You're just
Yeah.
like,
Like I've got a business coach set up. I've got a health coach. Anything my financial advisor says, I run through there. It's really helpful on the investment side, running like PPMs, memorandums through there, and just saying, hey, what questions should I be asking the sponsor, stuff
yeah,
like that.
no, of course, because
Yeah.
you don't, no one's going to read anything anymore. Just
Right.
send this. These are the 10 questions I want. Please have the answers. Because the truth is, like, there's so many things we can be doing. Like, there's so many different ways to think about things and to see the world. And that's why I think bringing you on is kind of interesting, is because with franchising, it's a completely different model and space. So, who's your ideal client that you usually work with or find is someone that's kind of leading towards this?
Yeah, certainly we have all ages, all different backgrounds. But I'd say sweet spot where most people would fall is probably mid 30s to mid 50s, and either they're done with the corporate world. They're saying, "Hey, I'm ready to jump in. I want to be a business owner. I see the path forward," or they're trying to keep the day job and they're saying, "Let's get something going on the side that I'll eventually just step into." Quite a few are taking an earlier retirement, saying, "Hey, I still have fire in the belly. I want to build something. I want to show my kids what it means to launch a business. Maybe something I can pass on to my kids." Some are actually partnering with their kids, which is really cool. They're the capital partner, kids are the operating partner. So you see a lot of different setups. I'm in my mid 40s. I'd say that's kind of a sweet spot as well. Folks that have built up a little bit of capital, and again, SBA loans are very common. Typically, you can get into a franchise with only 50 or 60,000 of cash, and then leverage the rest, with an SBA loan or a retirement rollover. That's also very common. So I think franchising is much more realistic and achievable than people realize. I mean, if you get into a brick and mortar business, you're probably looking at 400,000 or 500,000 all in investment, including working capital. But if you're looking at a service-based business that's not where you don't have a physical location and build out, you could get into in-home senior care, property services. A lot of these for 150,000, maybe 200,000, all in, including working capital. You look at the return potential, and it's pretty attractive. Now, it's because it does take effort, right? Even if you put a manager in place, you're still going to be involved to some degree. It's not a totally passive investment. But the beautiful thing that oftentimes people overlook is not only are you building cash flow and a future exit potential, but you also get tax benefits. The government incentivizes this, like it opens up your tax
Oh, really?
playbook in a significant way. Oh, there's so many things you could do as a business owner tax wise
Oh, yeah.
that you couldn't as a W 2.
Absolutely. So just even entering that world of like, hey, you're making a couple hundred grand and you're like, I want to lower the tax bill, I can buy a franchise. Now we're having the Augusta rule, we're having business dinners, even if it's how do you start to think about these things a different way?
Yeah, your cell phone goes in, your internet goes in, your car is
Yeah.
a business expense. You can pay your kids in the business, and then they have earned income that can roll into Roth IRAs. Like there's so many things you can do that are within the law, but it's because the government incentivizes. They want business owners, they want entrepreneurs. That's why they give these tax breaks.
And when did you start thinking about like your own life and thinking about how you wanted to frame it? Because even when you were talking about it earlier, you're like, yeah, we've done some cool trips, life on my terms. When did that all start to pick up for you? When did you start to see that and start to apply that?
Yeah, I'd say the last couple of years it's been gaining more and more momentum. Our kids are 14, 10, and 7. And I think reading books like Die with Zero that really get you thinking around, hey, you only have your kids, at this age for a certain time. Let's go make memories. And so we've done Mexico and Costa Rica, and we've done Europe, and we've gone on mission trips to Nicaragua. Like, it's all about exposing them, getting them out there, making memories. And that is probably one of the top reasons why people reach out to us, why they want to become business owners. It's not so they can say they're a business owner. I mean, it's something like that. It's not, but I think they're trying to prove something to themselves, but they also want to show their family, they've got, they'll take a calculator risk. They'll do the research and then take a calculator risk because that's what they want to ingrain in their kids as well. And they want to be able to design their life, to live it on their terms, to be able to be at home for family dinner. And, again, it takes work, especially in the early days, but it leads to
The
a
compounding.
potential life that I think a lot of people dream of.
And that's what I think a lot of people miss is the compounding, like, right? So you
Yeah.
sit there and you're like, oh, the business made however much in the first year and we made a little bit, but what you don't realize is, oh, those people are going to come back again and again and again and again. And now you have a reoccurring business model and it completely changes. And where did you end up? What did the Die with Zero book kind of give you? Because that was a book that completely changed my life as well.
Yeah, I'd say, nothing was rocket science, but it was really helpful reminders how things were framed. Um, I'd say it encouraged us to take bigger trips, kind of like we talked about. The idea of investing in memories, I think, is really important. And, you're not promised your health one day. I mean, I've been struggling with some shoulder stuff and like I can't ski this winter, right? As a result, like you don't know, what's going to come. And uh, so I think living in the moment, which is helpful for me because I'm a future thinker. I invest, I save, I think about the future, but it's like, opening things up a little more to saying, hey, let's invest in the moment.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that helped me with that was I'll just share with you really quick. But the book I read Die with Zero, and I was at a corporate job, and what ended up happening was they had the sabbatical moment where you could take 3 months off, and that's when I kind of got the book, and I started to realize I was like, hey, what would make these 3 months epic? And I was like, you know what would be really cool? Like doing them in Europe. Like I'm in Tampa,
Yeah.
Florida, so I was like,
Yeah.
that would be fun. Like let's do it in Europe. And my wife was like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm like, you're already kind of working remote. Like just ask them, and it'll be fine. It was a little bit of peer pressure, but then we ended up doing it. It was incredible. We did
Yeah.
7 weeks in Europe in 2024. Then we did 7 weeks in 2025. This year, I think it's off the table just because we literally have something every single month. But it causes you to think about this whole idea of the memory dividend, where
Yeah.
you're like, I'm getting paid again because I already talked about this and this is an exciting thing. And then it also gives you the courage to go, yeah, I did this. And the thing that really helped me with that, and I'm just sharing this for the audience and yourself, is me and my wife started to take out a certain amount each month and put it towards a travel fund. So it's still a savings account. Don't get me wrong. It's infidelity and it just saves, but you take it every single month and you're supposed to allocate it to travel.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, if you don't allocate it, it just keeps building and building and building because it's an auto transfer thing. So now you're sitting there and you're like, whoa, we got a lot of money that we can go on an amazing, amazing trip, or we'll allocate to something else. Ideally, go on the trip, go do something
Yeah.
because it's fun. That's what it's about. So I always think that's a really important one. And you mentioned return on investment. What kind of returns are people getting from these franchises?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, a lot of different types of businesses, different industries, so it varies. I'd say oftentimes we see margins in the 15 to 20%. That's 15 to 20% of revenue. So let's just play out an example here. Let's say it's a property services business. You buy 2 territories, all in investment, you're in for $200,000. What many of those would yield, and it takes a few months to get to break even. It may even take 6 to 9 months, in some cases. But where that leads is, oftentimes potential revenue of about $1 million. Again, 2 territories, $1 million in revenue, yielding, let's call it 115%. So 150,000 to the bottom line. So all in investment 200,000, and then you're making 150,000 per year. I mean, that's obviously a pretty good return percentage, right? But it's taken some effort, right? It's not totally turnkey. So 150,000, and you're building a business that one day you'll probably be able to sell for a 3 or 4 multiple of that. So let's call it, you sell it for 500,000 down the road, right? In that scenario, and you're getting tax benefits along the way. So I'd say that's kind of a basic model. Certainly there are ones that are higher margin than that. There are ones that are lower, but that's probably a median type one for you.
Wow. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Because when you truly, I
It
mean,
takes
because when
work.
you really
Yeah.
think about it, I mean, the tough part is we're always like, oh, the market gives us 7%, or I'm going to work my job where I know I'm going to get paid and then I don't know. Or you're an entrepreneur where it's like, good luck. I'm in the ocean with the with the wolves. I'll
Right.
see what happens. Um, Absolutely, because it becomes quite interesting, and that's why I kind of ask. One of the big things about me is that I have this company, Edwards Consulting, and we have 5 pillars here: mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. The first one, mental health. John, where is your mental health today on a 1 to 10 if you had to pick a number, and maybe a couple reasons why?
Yeah, I would say an 8. I'd say, pretty grounded. Yeah, I think all those domains kind of support each other. My framework
100%.
is I've got 5 Fs:
Oh, tell
faith, family, fitness, finances, and franchising. So
me.
it's essentially business, if you will. So I'm always thinking through those lenses as I'm looking at my day, looking at my week, looking at my goals for the year as well. How am I balanced within each of those and making sure that I'm moving the ball forward? So that's how I think about it. But no, if I'm living, go ahead.
How has having those pillars helped you when thinking about just life and decisions? Because I think having multiple different domains can be it's challenging, and people are like, "Oh, you're ADD," and it's like, no, not exactly. However, I want to make sure I allocate time to the things that are actually going to move the needle for me, because
Yeah,
we know you're not going to be exceptional in all 5 of them.
yeah,
It's absurdity because if the business is going well, then it's like I'm not working out as much, and we try to optimize for how can we do all those in the same way.
yeah. Well, but I think I would challenge people to think about how do you optimize all 5. I think it can be done.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel I've done that at times, not every moment of every day, but in a lot of ways. And one of the hacks that I've realized is how do you kind of combine some of those? So if I'm
Okay.
staying active athletically with my kids, I'm kind of hitting both family and fitness, right? If I'm, again, using the exercise example, if I'm jogging on the treadmill, but I'm consuming content on investment strategies, I'm kind of hitting both finances and fitness. So I try to,
Do you want to hear a good one?
come on,
I
go
did
for
one
it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ran the New York City Marathon with my brother, and we raised $8,000 for colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
So we had the community service, we're raising the
Love
money.
that.
Then we're doing the running, it's the mental health. Relationship, it's me and my brother. And then you push yourself through a challenge, it's kind of mental health and kind of that stuff. So it's how to use it all aligned because I completely agree. The more pillars you can hit on, the better experience you're gonna have. That's why you like going on a walk with a dog, with your music playing, jamming, like with the kid, like all the stuff, because that's when it's best.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing it in a foreign country, you're like, oh my God, it's even better. Like, which
Yeah.
is cool because you're bringing all those pieces together. So for you, physical health, how do you think about physical health?
Yeah, I've got the Whoop. I've had it for years, and so I track all my data. I'm a data-driven guy, and yeah, I've got different sets of friends, and we have different communities on Whoop where we can see each other's numbers every day. And so there's this
Oh, wow.
healthy leaderboard and competition, which is fun. If I go to a trainer a couple times a week, I've got an infrared sauna and red light over here in my office to my right, which you can't see. PEMF mat. I do the peptides. Like I nerd out on this stuff. I love it.
Okay, I got it. I love that. And how have you been thinking about the peptides? I'm just curious because I've been obviously, dude, I'm interviewing people. I'm hearing from
Yeah.
everybody. What do you
So,
think?
so at any given time, I throw a lot of things against the wall, so it's hard for me to isolate variables. I would say I've invested a lot of money in peptides. I haven't seen the return just yet. It's largely been since my shoulder surgery 6 months
So
ago.
you're more focused on the recovery aspect, not just I want to be a superhuman.
Exactly.
Right?
As far as the peptide piece goes, yes.
Of course, no, just because I've seen some people who are like, I want to be a superhuman. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And then I got some who like I do Muay Thai, and some of the people there are like, they're all I didn't realize that they were all like, hey, we're focusing on peptides. Not in a bad way, but they're like, dude, I got an injured hip, I got an injured shoulder, I got leg, like
Yeah.
I want to accelerate this pain that I'm having.
Yeah. The older I get, as far as health goes, and again, I've tried a lot of things. I do a lot of things, hyperbaric chamber, all that. End of the day, it comes back to how you sleep, how you eat, and are you
Keep it
physically
simple.
active, getting some zone 2, zone 4 training in there. So it's the basics that it all comes back to.
Keep it simple. I completely agree. And then what do we have? We got community service philanthropy. I noticed you said some mission trips, some stuff like that. How do you
Yeah.
think about community service?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, it's through a faith lens. We're very
Yeah, of
active in
course.
our church and in the community here. But, I've sat on multiple boards for different nonprofit organizations. So there's kind of that level, but then there's also getting the family involved, right? And, so, whether we've done food banks, we've gone to Nicaragua, working with kind of some impoverished folks. I've taken my
Wow.
son on a mission trip to the Dominican. We can always do better, right? I always feel that obligation or tug. I try to live my life, through the lens of stewardship. I think to whom
Yeah.
much is given, much is expected from a resource standpoint, from a time standpoint. And so, yeah, just trying to be faithful with what we've been given and trusted and the relationships. And so it kind of manifests in a lot of different ways.
I love that. And then relationships. How do you optimize for relationships? Because it seems like you're pretty intentional with that.
Yeah, I know people have always told me I know a lot of people. So it just, I've always been a part of different groups or, different activities. In a lot of different ways, whether it be the church or parents from our kids' school or different masterminds of entrepreneurs or different groups, even keeping up with old college fraternity brothers or high school friends. I've always been pretty good on that front. I enjoy the relational sex. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? It's all about the relationships. So that being said, I do enjoy downtime myself as well. My wife and I are each that way where, we like some time to ourselves, but I enjoy getting out there as well.
I love it. And then the last one, spirituality. I know you mentioned a little
Yeah.
bit about it, but you can elaborate a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that we're here on Earth for a very short amount of time, and there are only a few things that truly matter in the end, and it's not about building, just building up our family and but it's there's an eternal purpose behind everything, and so yeah, faith is important to us. I'm always happy to go deeper on that topic, but try to live my life. I screw up every day, but I'm trying my best, and thankfully it's not all up to me.
Absolutely. And where can people learn more about you, John?
Yeah, come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com. It's FRAN bridgeconsulting.com. If you share your email address, we'll send you a free downloadable copy of our book, Non-Food Franchising. It's kind of a first step. And yeah, and we'll also send you a link to my calendar. So if you'd like to take a next step and learn more, again, it's entirely free to work with us. I'd be more than happy to jump on a call and talk about all things franchising and get to know you and help anyone I can.
I love it. Awesome.